So here's the thing. I mean, like, I don't think anything I say is going to be anything new to you people. You've watched this episode multiple times. This feels like another one of those pivotal episodes. Like, what was it, 151? Here we are, almost 100 episodes later. We have another super pivotal episode. This feels like a massively pivotal episode. I actually think Usopp's leaving the crew, but even if let's say he doesn't leave the crew. Let's say somehow they resolve things, maybe not immediately, but within a few episodes gets resolved. This is still a crucial episode. It's still a pivotal episode, no matter what happens. I actually think he's leaving the crew. I think this is a great way to write somebody off. They don't kill people on this show. In the manga, this all comes from the author. Whenever I say the show, the show writers are obviously really good at what they do. They get a paycheck. They earn their money. But I'm typically talking about the author. Because he's the genesis of all this. I'm sure the storyline came straight from him, right? So he doesn't kill people. So if you need to remix the crew and change that dynamic and do something like that, then, this is a great way to do it. Like I said, it all felt very organic. The way fights typically happen is Hollywood fake ass fights are. So imagine a bell curve, right? Like you have the you put the points on the bell curve, or what do they call that? Plotting. That you plot something on a curve and then you draw the lines and it shows how like the rise and fall of ratings, network ratings, or something. I can't remember the terminology right now, but you know what I'm saying. Like, imagine one of those things. Graph. A graph. You're doing a graph, okay? And so you're plotting points on the graph, and then you draw the line. Most Hollywood fights start at 1, say it goes from 1 to 10. 1 is you're having a friendly conversation. 10 is somebody murders somebody. That's how bad the fight gets, right? So typically fights like Sopranos, when Tony broke up with his wife, they got divorced. That fight they had was about an 8.5. They were pretty close to murder, right? So it's like that, right? Typically, a badly written Hollywood fight starts at 1, goes to 2, goes to 3, goes to 4, goes to 5, goes to 6, goes to 7, goes to 8, goes to 9, or however, whatever the peak is. Typically, let's say 8. Okay, so it goes to 8, plateaus at 8, and then fight's over. You see what I mean? It's a straight line up. A real fight goes from 1 to 4 to 2 to 6 to 5 to 4 to 7 to 8 to 6 to 4 to 7. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it goes back and forth. There was a moment here that really typifies what I'm talking about. Luffy sat up after Sanji kicked him and said, "I'm sorry," and was going to start to apologize. That he didn't mean what he said. And then Usopp accelerated it. He re-aggravated the fight and got it going again. And it's basically like blowing on a fire, right? The fire was down to embers. Usopp came over and blew on it really hard and got the fire started again. That's typically what happens in real fights. People just don't go from 1 to 10. You know what I mean? Like it ebbs and flows. It goes back and forth. Like, you realize you've gone too far. You try to back up. Sometimes you can even get back to a calm conversation. And then, they'll say something else to just show they still don't understand where you're coming from, and then it's on again, and you're really pissed off again, right? So that can happen. That's an organic fight. That's a real fight. That's what we got here, right? This fight felt organic, it felt real, and it had and the best fights have underlying issues that have existed for a long time. Like, you've been nursing this grudge for a long time, and now you're arguing and you're screaming in this person's face, and then it comes out. You never liked my hair anyway. Well, you've been carrying. You've been holding on to you didn't never like my hair anyway, because you're actually fighting about what you're wearing, and all of a sudden talk about, well, you never liked my hair anyway. You were holding on to that. You brought that to the fight as extra ammunition. That's something you've been wanting to say. You just didn't want to start a fight. Well, now that we're already fighting, who cares? Go ahead and put it out there. You might as well put this out there too. Wait a minute. What else? Oh yeah, your breath stinks. Like you're gonna put everything out there. Now that the fighting is happening, right? Now, you see, since you're fighting anyway, let's pull it all out, right? That's how a lot of these things will go, right? So this is just brilliantly written. It's organic. So that's off the top. It's organic. Very well done. I love the animation, the way that what they were doing with the colors. I don't even know, man. Like, if I can describe it, I don't know much about animation. I don't know the technical terms of it and stuff. I can barely remember an effing graph name, right? So I don't know. It just felt like it was just, it felt like the animators and the showrunner said, okay, when they looked at this chapter and they were going to adapt this chapter, they said, we need to do everything. The editing was brilliant. The flashbacks were brilliant. Little flash panels, we could even call them. Not even flashbacks, just flash panels to make sure we got the emotion. The voiceover actors really brought it. So that was just perfectly executed episode of television. One of my favorite episodes of the entire series. Okay, so now let's talk about the fight itself. That was out of universe conversation. Talking about how they executed the material. Okay, now let's go in universe. We're in this world. This really just happened. It wasn't something that was executed by showrunners and writers. It just happened. Let's analyze it. Usopp all along has been saying he's the captain. He wants to be the captain. He clearly always wanted to be captain. He's been saying that from Jump Street. And it's always been a running gag. But the thing about a running gag is comedy is just truth with makeup on. Like people use comedy to get a little bit of the truth out there. Yeah, look, he's always late. We should call him Unspeedy Gonzalez or whatever, right? I can't think of anything off the top. But say somebody's always late, right? And you find ways to have a running gag of jokes about being late, like, oh man, you should get you an Apple Watch. You wouldn't be late all the time, right? It's actually something that actually annoys you. And the way you put that out there without being saying, hey man, the fuck you always late for? What you do is you just make jokes about them being late to try to convey your irritation through comedy, through jokes. You're trying to convey how irritated you are with them always being late through the medium of a joke. And a lot of times you get the point across. But I've always said never joke about something you're actually annoyed about with somebody you spend a lot of time with, like coworkers. Like say being late with something that annoyed me, I would never make jokes about it. Or somebody you're involved with romantically. Either way, any kind of long-term relationship, friends, romance, business, never joke about something that actually annoys you, because you know what's going to happen? It's going to come out for real. The jokes are going to get more and more cutting, or when you do complain about it, then it becomes clear, oh, you've been joking about this for the last 2 years because it actually annoys you. And that's just a chump move, man. So only joke about things that you don't care about. You're just trying to be funny. And if you're actually mad about something with somebody, sit down and have a conversation with them about it. Hey, you're always late. You're wasting our time. Makes me feel like your time is more valuable than mine. So anyway, the point is this joke is Usopp's running gag, right? But he wants to be captain. He wants to be captain. He's not joking. It's what he wants, which means he's automatically butting heads with Luffy. It's just that simple. So that's an untenable situation long term. I'm surprised it lasted this long, to be honest with you. The reason it lasted this long is I actually took it seriously as a joke when it clearly was not a joke. So that's just a major problem. What I want to do now is I want to talk about the pros and cons of both characters. We'll start with Luffy. The pros and cons of him being a captain. The pros are undying loyalty. If somebody does something to you, they do something to him. He's got your back no matter what. You could literally start a fight with somebody. Just walk up to somebody, spit in their face, and they kick your ass. He would come up, and we've never seen this scenario play out in the show, but I believe he would come up and he would get your back. At the very least, he would stop them from kicking your ass. He might even punish them. So you get undying loyalty. That's not nothing. How many other captains have we seen in this series who don't have their crew members' backs? So he's got your back. And he's hilarious, and he's not a demanding captain. He's not a taskmaster. He doesn't really hold people accountable when they mess up, which may be a con as well. But he's an easy person to work for. And he makes you feel like a collaborator. Every now and then he'll pull rank like he did here. But basically, you feel like you're on a team. You don't feel like you're in a dictatorship. That's a good attribute for a captain to have. But also, he's funny, he's entertaining, he keeps things light for the most part. That's about it. As far as being a captain, that's about it, okay? He has a long list of cons. This dude, because he's invulnerable, he thinks everybody else is invulnerable, so he starts shit with a lot of people, which affects the crew. And sometimes the crew have taken an ass whipping, or they've gotten in a lot of trouble, they've lost property, they've taken damage on the ship. Look at the Barry or Davy fight, whatever it was, I think it was a Davy fight. The Davy games, where he started another game, another round of games, which I found out, by the way, did not happen in the manga. The showrunners added that, but we're dealing with the show here. I'm watching the show here. I'm not reading the manga. So that's what happened. I'm talking about the manga. I'm talking about the anime character is a dumbass, and he will start shit without worrying about how that affects other people. He doesn't think about other people. He just thinks he's impulsive, and that is a massive negative for a captain. He doesn't plan ahead. He's impulsive. He starts shit. He does things just for the lulls. Let's go look at this because it's cool, and I want to see something exciting, and I'm bored. So he gets them in a lot of trouble, which is great for us watching a story because we want to see them in trouble. But the flip side is he gets them in a lot of trouble. So that's a problem. Him being a dumbass in general is a problem. The biggest problem I have with him actually is stealing food from people. I've told you many times, I believe the leader eats last. And because I was in a job that required me to feed my employees. So I would either cook for them or I would buy stuff out of my own pocket, or sometimes if we had investment money, using investment money, buy food for people to eat lunchtime specifically. Typically we didn't do breakfast unless it was a long shoot. Every now and then I'd take people out to dinner just because, But typically you have to pay for lunch because you start at 8 a.m. You assume they've already eaten breakfast. You wrap at 6 or 7 p.m. and then they have to go get dinner themselves. So typically when you're a filmmaker, you only have to pay for lunch, but you have to pay for lunch. You have to take care of that. Well, when I was cooking specifically, I would make usually chili or tacos or something, right? But everybody else would eat and get their fill before I would eat. Because if necessary, while we're setting up the next shot, I can go across the street, grab a burrito, and eat it real quick. Other people can't do that. They're setting up the next shot. They're back on the clock. If necessary, I can go get somewhere I can just do without. I grew up doing without a lot of times. A lot of times I wouldn't have lunch. So, as a leader, you don't eat first, you eat last. That's just such a fundamental part of my character. Everybody else, your people, your family, your crew eats. If they don't eat, I don't eat. And sometimes even when they do eat, I don't eat. Because sometimes we'd be gone. There'd be a couple extra people. The food would be gone. I'd have to figure something else out. I eat last because I'm the effing leader. That's just what I believe. So this somebody's taking food off other people's plates, man. It just drives me nuts. It drives me at the wall. I know it's for comedy. The show isn't that serious. I'm just saying, if I was a crew member, I would take that personally. I would have a major problem with that. He's a glutton. He eats way too much, way more than anybody else, and then he's going to steal food off your plate. That'd be a problem. That might be enough for me to leave the crew, just in and of itself. So that's a major con. So it just makes him, I know he's not greedy, but it makes him come across as greedy and just uncaring of other people's needs. So he's dumb. He's also naive in that he doesn't understand the way his actions impact other people. This decision he makes can threaten other people's health, their welfare, possibly even their lives. Some of these things he's done, he could have had him plucked from the crew when he fired the gun and started the second round of games. I'm just saying, man. That's a major downside. And then, like I said, taking food off people's plates. So he's got some massive liabilities when it comes to being a captain. Probably definitely more cons than pros. I think he's a terrible captain. I think he'll grow into the role. I think that some of these things I talk about, he will just learn with experience not to do, right? So that's why I think he'll eventually be king of the pirates. And he'll probably be a good king. He'll definitely be a good captain. He just isn't a good captain right now. And I don't think he's king material right now. Okay, so let's talk about Usopp. Usopp, he's scared, but when push comes to shove, he will stand up for himself and stand up for other people. He's loyal. He's a great inventor. Those are his pros. His cons are his fragile ego, which we saw on display in this episode. His lying, just pathological lying. And I think his ambition. I think he's always been ambitious to have the top spot, and I think that's always been a thorn in his side. So you take these two people and you pit them against each other, and that's what caused this fight. This is oil and water. This is Mentos and Pepsi. Like, it's just not, it's a volatile combination. This was always going to happen. I don't think there is a right side and a wrong side to this fight. I think there's two points of view, and there's two people that were always going to clash. This fight was always going to happen. If it didn't happen here, it was going to happen a month from now, 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks ago, if something had fallen differently. This fight was always going to happen because his fragile ego can't take the fact that he's the second most useless person on the entire ship. Everybody else is more powered than him except for Nami. He can't handle it. His ego can't handle it. So this was never going to work. Meanwhile, Luffy was never going to... Luffy is a hot-headed, impulsive person, so he was never going to be able to navigate how to manage a personality like this. There are personalities that are ambitious. They call them rate jumpers, who have fragile egos. If you know what you're doing, if you're a good leader of people, and you can manage and you can massage the situation, you can keep that person with you forever. You can keep them a happy, healthy, contributing crew member forever. Luffy ain't that. He doesn't have that skill set. This was always going to happen. That's the way I see it. This was inevitable. Now, what do I predict is going to happen here? I don't know. I've decided I'm probably going to make this a separate video, which will come right after that. You'll see that this was not the intro to the next episode, because this is going to be... I still got the comment corner in the next episode. So this is going to be its own video. So I'll lay out predictions, and also, before I do that though, I'm going to rewatch the entire fight from beginning to end and see if I have any more thoughts. So I'm going to pause recording here now, watch that again, record any additional thoughts I have, and then I'll make my predictions how I think this is all going to play out. So I just watched the episode again. My God, that was powerful. It was just as powerful the second time as it was the first time. Holy shit. One of the things I forgot to bring up in what I said before was... Well, I talked about Usopp's fragile ego. I'm sure I did at some point during all that. But really, it is, and it's an anime trope that I just can't stand. It happens a lot in Attack on Titan. It happened in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Those are the two big examples I can think of off the top of my head. It's the fact... Oh, I think it even happened in Chainsaw Man. If somebody fails, like say there's a big bad comes through, and they fight him and they fail. They just lay on the floor, crawl into a ball, and sob and cry because they failed. They've only failed one time in their entire effing lives. And all they're going to lay on the floor and be comatose and useless to what, you have shit you got to do now. Like, we have to pack up, we have to leave, we have to go to another location. They're going to come back. No, he's just going to lay here and cry because he failed one time. One time his life is over, everything sucks. That's the end. Like, I just can't stand quitters. I've told you before, I cannot stand a quitter. And this is that, right? Like, it's just, everybody fails, man. Like, your demand, like, it's just such an insane, stupid demand that you have to be perfect every single time. You have to win every single encounter, or you suck, you're terrible, and the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and you might as well just lay there and cry because you failed one time. I cannot stand that trope. It's so common in anime. And it's the only thing I don't like about anime, that trope, because it's such a despicable character trait that demands perfection, or you're just going to lay there, be useless, and cry and give up and just quit. And everybody has to gather around him, and they have to convince him and beg him to get back into the fight and try again. Oh, please, will you get up and try again? You only failed one time in your entire life. We failed plenty of times, but no, please get up. We're begging you, please get up. Stop being a pissy-ass, crybaby quitter. Get up and get back into the fight. God, it's so annoying. It's like, I fail every day, man. Like, anybody who's been watching my channel for a long time, there's many times I've had to pull a video down and bring it back. Like, recently, I put the wrong damn reaction video to the, I had, like, an intro that was for the episode. And then I had like an outro that's for, I think it was even like a character corner. But then I put the wrong video. Like, it was supposed to be 165 and it was 164 or something. And people watching the intro, it's like, yeah, I'm digging it. It's like, what the hell is this? We just saw this in a previous episode, Like, just a stupid ass mistake. Like, how do you make that mistake? Like, my files are numbered, right? So in the editor, I can see the number of the file, and it's supposed to match the number of the timeline, right? If these two things don't match, we got a problem. That's how I usually keep my shit wiretight. I don't know how I missed it. You know how I missed it? Because I'm human and humans make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Boy, if you're looking for perfection, you're in the wrong effing rock, man. You better find some other rock out there around some other sun if you're looking for perfection, because humans are flawed individuals. We're flawed creatures. We fail. You're not interesting until you fail anyway. People who are perfect are not very interesting. It's how you handle the adversity. It's how you handle the failure. Get your ass back up and get back into the fight. That is interesting to me. It makes somebody compelling. These crybabies just laying there sobbing. Oh, I failed. I suck. Everybody who died, it's on me. I should have been better. Man, get your ass up and get back in the damn fight. And that's Usopp, man. This whole crybaby ass, because I failed, everything's my fault. I suck. Dude, we all have a role to play. And yeah, you should have done a better job watching the money. But, it is what it is. Instead of going there and trying to get it yourself, you should have went and got everybody else and told them where it was. And we could all go together and then you wouldn't have lost the money. They got there too late because they had to follow your blood trail. If you clearly knew where they were, you could have went back, met everybody else, and led them back over there in enough time to intercept the captain with the money. We'd have our money back. But no, because of your ego, you had to go by yourself. You had to prove something to yourself. I can get the money back. So that's just such a despicable character trait. I cannot stand it. At least Luffy, he's a dumbass, and he's naive, and he's oblivious of the danger he puts other people in. But you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't sit there and cry about how he failed everything. Get your ass up and get back in the fight. So effing annoyed. So that, I forgot to mention that before. That was my biggest takeaway from this time, man. It's just, he just can't handle it, man. He cannot handle it. It really, it's all about, the fight was about a lot of things. He wanted to be captain, and, I still maintain that was one of the issues. And Luffy's naive, and he puts people in danger, so that was one of the issues. That's one of the things that annoys him. But there was also poor communication. They didn't tell him what the problem was. Look, Zoro saw it for himself. It's hey, go look at the kill, look at the damage. Holy shit, look at this. There's no fixing this. They didn't do that. They did a very bad job of convincing him of what the actual situation was. And he was in some major, Usopp was in some major denial there, man. It was really bad. Watching the second time, I know this is the first time, but watching the second time, it really hit me how much denial he was. Hey, I'll go get some lumber. Let's get started right now. Let's go ahead and start fixing the ship right now. I'll go get some lumber. Dude, the ship has sailed. Although it'll never sail again, metaphorically, the ship has sailed. So, but I'm still not taking sides. Like I said, the fight was inevitable. It was going to happen. So, I don't think there is a good guy and a bad guy, and I don't think there's a right side and a wrong side to this fight. It was going to happen. It was inevitable. I was just going to deal with the fallout. Brutal, man. Okay, so I said I was going to do predictions. I predict Luffy's going to kick his ass. I don't know why Usopp needs this to happen. Usopp thinks he's got a couple tricks. He obviously knows him very well, and he's got a couple inventions that'll work. But, Luffy's never lost a fight. He's lost a battle. He's never lost a war. We'll put it that way. He's not losing this one. And because Usopp's ego can't handle it, he's going to leave the crew. Which I just didn't think that was going to happen, man. I'm dumbfounded. I think he'll probably return to the crew in a couple hundred episodes, maybe. They'll run into him again, and maybe he'll rejoin them. Maybe not. Maybe next time we run into him, he's the captain of his own ship, and he's got a bunch of pirates, and we're going to have a fight. That sucks, man. I like Usopp. Yes, he's annoying. The lying thing's annoying. His fragile-ass ego's annoying. But his inventions were cool. I like his inventions, man. And he was, he could at least put Band-Aids on the ship. We need to get a shipwright, so I guess they're probably going to get rid of Usopp and bring aboard a shipwright. They're going to hire probably that blonde dude, right? He'll be the new member of the crew. So yeah, that's my prediction. That's what I think's going to happen. But after Luffy kicks his ass, they said, okay, you can have the Going Merry. It's yours. We're going to go get a new ship. But we're taking the tangerine trees. All right, well, this is a hell of a way to end a Thanksgiving marathon, isn't it? It's just, my God, man. I didn't know 235 was going to be such a pivotal episode, such an awesome episode. But we've had 15 episodes this week, 2 today, 2 yesterday, right? So, I mean, this is a great way to end a Thanksgiving marathon. Like, this is the best marathon ending I'll have, probably. The next marathon is going to be Christmas, I think. Let me see. Yeah, December 23rd. Also, I mentioned this before, but it bears repeating now. We're a lot closer to it. After episode 250, we're going to 2 episodes a day throughout from now on. So that's gonna be a lot of more work for me, but it's worth doing. I'm comfortably ahead enough that I feel like I can do that, and we won't miss any uploads. So, starting with 251, we'll be doing that. But on Monday is going to be 236. So that should be interesting. I can't wait to see the resolution of this fight.